Very good morning, children. Welcome back again to my channel, Awesome Learning. And today we are going to start with a new lesson, excretory products and their elimination. So let's begin with this chapter. We have already discussed about this chapter in your previous class in class 10. So we will be carrying forward the previous knowledge and also will learn very new things about this lesson. So let's start here. Children, first along with your NCERT, I'll also be using some PPTs. So let's see here, children. Animals accumulate ammonia, urea, uric acid, carbon dioxide, water, and ions like sodium, potassium, chlorine, phosphate, sulfate, etc. So these are all the accumulations these are all the things that get collected or accumulated inside the animal's body. Either now, why do our body collect these things? How are these things collected inside our body? Because there are a lot of metabolic activities going on. Now, what are metabolic activities? These are the reactions that are taking place inside our body, the chemical reactions that are taking place inside the body. So because of those chemical actions or reactions, these things get collected inside the body, or they also get collected by excess of ingestion. That means these things can also be collected if we intake. Ingestion means intake them in large quantities, because the body will utilize what is required. The body will utilize the amount that is required, and the extra amount will be accumulated or collected inside the body, which is not used by the body. So because the excess amount is now of no use to us, so these substances have to be removed either totally or partially. That means either the body wants to get rid of these substances completely, or it wants to get rid of these substances partially. So in this chapter, you will learn the mechanism of elimination of these substances. Children, one more thing, ammonia, urea and uric acid are the major forms of nitrogenous waste. Now, why do we call them as nitrogenous waste? Because all these three things, ammonia, urea and uric acid, are a compound of nitrogen. They are the compound of nitrogen. That is why we call them as nitrogenous. And why do we call them as waste? Because body is not wanting them. So these are to be excreted. Children, ammonia is the most toxic of these three. Now, out of these three, children, ammonia is the most toxic one, right? It is the most toxic one and requires large amount of water for elimination. Now if there is a body which wants to get rid of ammonia, and there is another body which wants to get rid of urea, and a third body which wants to get rid of uric acid, so among these three, the one which has to get rid of ammonia requires large amount of water, because removal of ammonia can be only done when there is large amount of water. Okay, whereas uric acid requires least amount of water because it is least toxic. It is the least toxic, and urea is in intermediate. That means it requires normal quantity of water or normal amount of water, and hence these three categories are divided into the kind of habitat in which the animal lives. Now let's see how. As I told you children that ammonia is the most toxic one and it requires large amount of water. So what do you think? Which animals will be excreting the waste product in the form of ammonia? Who are the animals who will be excreting the waste in the form of ammonia? Yes, of course, the animals who live in water, because they are the ones who require large amount of water and they survive in water. So the process of excreting ammonia is known as ammonotelism. So if an animal excretes the waste in the form of ammonia, then the process is called ammonotelism, and the animal is known as ammonotelic. So mostly those animals which live in water show this type of excretion, that is bony fishes, aquatic amphibians and aquatic insects are ammonotelic in nature, because ammonia is easily soluble. Readily means easily soluble in water and is generally excreted by diffusion across the body surfaces or through gill surfaces as ammonium ions. Now you have to understand this, because in our body we have a particular system for excretion, but in these animals like bony fishes or amphibians or insects, they don't have that well developed system. So how do they excrete? They excrete by a simple process of diffusion. Diffusion through which part of the body? Diffusion through body surfaces or through gill surfaces, as in fishes. And in which form do they get diffused? In the form of ammonium ions. You know the form of ammonia? NH4 plus ammonium ions. Okay, kidneys do not play any significant role in its removal. So mind it children, if an animal is getting rid, mark my words, if an animal is getting rid of ammonia as waste, then it should get rid either through body surface or through gill surfaces. Kidneys won't take part in such kind of removal. Children, terrestrial adaptation. What do you mean by terrestrial adaptation? Animals who live on land. Those who are adapted to live on land. Now children, they need to produce lesser toxic nitrogenous waste. Why? Why do land animals should produce? I told you they need to produce. It is a necessity. It's not their choice. They have to produce lesser toxic nitrogenous waste. Why? Because they live on land. They do not live in water. So they have less amount of water. So if they produce waste in the form of ammonia, how will they get rid of it? Because they do not live in water. So they have to produce waste which should be in the form of lesser toxic, and that is urea or uric acid. Why? Because they need to conserve water, because they do not have lot of water around them, right? So mammals, many terrestrial amphibians and marine fishes mainly excrete urea and are called ureotelic. So they excrete urea because they are known as ureotelic. Children, ammonia produced by metabolism. Now, how is this ammonia produced? Ammonia is produced by metabolism. What metabolism? It is the chemical reactions taking place inside the body. So, how is ammonia produced? Ammonia is produced by metabolism. And that ammonia, because they cannot release this ammonia. Why do they cannot release this ammonia? Because they have less water. So first they have to convert this ammonia either into urea or into uric acid. So where will this conversion take place? So the ammonia produced is converted into urea in the liver of these animals, and then they release it into the blood, where the blood will be taken to the kidneys, and there it will be filtered out, and then it will be excreted out. Understood? Even our body, children, please pay attention, even our body also produces the ammonia due to the metabolism, but we do not release ammonia directly. We convert this ammonia into urea. Where is this conversion taking place? In the liver. Then that converted urea is released into blood, and this blood is sent to the kidneys for filtration, where the waste is excreted out. So children, some amount of urea may be retained in the kidney matrix of some of these animals to maintain desired osmolarity. Very important line. Please try to understand this very carefully. Children, some amount of urea. Always remember, if you have gone through any blood test and if you have any reports, you will also see that in the blood report they mention urea also. So even our blood contains some amount of urea which is necessary to maintain the osmotic potential or osmotic pressure or osmolarity. We cannot get rid of the whole amount of urea from our blood and from our kidney matrix. What is matrix? You will come to know when we will do the structure of kidney. Okay, children. Reptiles, birds, land snails, and insects excrete nitrogenous waste as uric acid, because in this type least amount of water is required, minimum amount of water loss is required, and they take out their waste in the form of pellet or paste. Birds, you have seen, they do white color excretion. When you are sitting on under a tree, you see a white color excreta is being thrown on you. What is that? That is urine. That is urine which is passed on by the birds, and it is so thick. Why is it thick? Because minimum amount of water is required, and such animals are called uricotelic animals. So this video was about the three types of waste being thrown out by various kind of animals: ammonotelic, ureotelic, and uricotelic.